Wow, my microphones were not on, and now they are. Oops. Episode 4 of The Bachelorette.
This thing is moving.
It is moving. This was also quite the episode.
It was, to say the least.
Oh, man. So it starts with the guys talking about Cam going home, which was kind of funny. But then Chris Harrison appears, and I think Chris Harrison has been in this season more than he has in the past 4 seasons combined.
I feel like the producers like, we need to find another angle to get Chris in there, and found it.
I think so. He does the thing where he tells them where they're going, and like no matter where it is, they're like, yeah!
What was your thoughts when you heard Rhode Island?
I was like, sounds like a season of The Bachelorette. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like legitimately though.
On The Bachelor, they always go like the cool, and no shade to Rhode Island, but like on The Bachelor, they always go, I feel like they go out of the country like right away.
Right away. Like right away, they go out of the country and then they go from country to country to country to country.
Yeah, and on The Bachelorette, they're like Rhode Island, Virginia is for lovers, all that stuff. So when they said that, I was like, sounds like The Bachelorette.
But what's cool is that like I did watch afterward. I watched Hannah on another thing, and she's like, "Yeah, my reaction when I heard Rhode Island was like, eh."
Sorry, Rhode Island.
Yeah.
But according to Peter, Rhode Island has super romantic vibes. So
Crickets.
Yep. But Virginia is for lovers. A date card arrives. Jed, meet me in Boston, which was funny because as soon as they get to Rhode Island, they go to Boston.
I'm like, and then I was like, so how far is Rhode Island from Boston?
I have no idea how close those two are.
Man.
Luke P looks mad. The only thing that Hannah knows about Boston is the Boston Tea Party, and she seems to barely know that. And then we get to sit through this very painful attempt of her to try to remember the phrase no taxation without representation.
Yeah, she struggled through that one. She struggled hardcore through that one.
Yeah, that was something. They explore Boston together. According to Hannah, Boston is all about fun and America. And she says, I love making up facts about America. And when she said that, I was like, I get what she's doing, but that also feels very dark.
Yeah, right? Yeah, I felt uncomfortable about this. I was like, I hope they don't show too many, and then like the next 3 minutes was Hannah making up facts about random stuff that she saw.
Right, and especially since like fake news is like such a thing. She's like, I love making up facts about America, and I was like, so they walk around the city. She's making up all of these weird facts, like so and so did this. I can't even remember them because they were so weird.
Yeah, there was one there where there's like a gold top. It's like, and that's where McDonald's got their idea for the golden arches.
Yeah,
I was like, come on.
It was weird.
Come on.
Hannah really likes Jed though. She says she feels like she can just be Hannah around Jed,
which I see.
I also feel that I can just be Hannah around Jed because I love Jed. They go to the Cheers bar,
which I love.
I've never seen Cheers.
Never?
I recognize the logo.
Oh man, what a TV show that is.
But they always do this thing where they take people on dates to like the most crowded bar.
Yeah, so you heard the talking in the background?
I
was like, wow, it is really hard to follow this conversation.
I could not hear a dang thing they were saying. Like,
I was like, okay. Yeah,
they did that with Colton season 2 where like Tayshia was giving him all the tea and it was in this really like market that was so crowded, and it's
such a pivotal point of that like season. I'm like, can we take this conversation outside?
Yeah, it was weird. They leave the bar, they go and run into like a Halo Top truck for a very weird sponsorship.
Clearly staged.
Yeah. They start eating the ice cream though, and as they were eating the ice cream and talking, I was like, oh, this is why they never show people eating on this show, because this is weird.
Very.
Hannah says that... Were you trying to signal to me?
No, you're good.
Oh. Hannah says that she has one last surprise in store for Jed, and it is the Celtics practice center.
Yes. So I'm a big NBA guy.
Yeah, I know you are.
So I knew who Terry Rozier was. I knew who Jaylen Brown was. Probably, I'd say the 3rd and maybe 6th best player on the Boston Celtics.
Oh, that's cool.
So still prominent name. So I applaud them. It was a great idea.
Yeah, it was cute. They get jerseys. They play 2-on-2.
Yeah. The only thing that I was weirded out about Why was Hannah getting advice from Jaylen Brown?
Isn't he like 22? I saw a tweet about how he's like 22.
He's super young. This is only his like second year in the league. So
I don't know.
He is super young. I'm like, okay.
They did a classic jump kiss. Jed makes a basket over their back, which was kind of cool.
I thought that was dope. That was awesome.
And it was apparently Hannah's favorite part of the date. Not connecting with Jed, not learning more about him, but I guess it was that. There's a date card back at the hotel. John Paul Jones opens it. Dylan, Mateo, John Paul Jones, Connor, Garrett, Dustin, Devin, Grant, Peter, Kevin, Mike, Luke S., and Luke P. True love requires blood, sweat, and tears. It looks like Tyler is going to get the one-on-one. That was funny. Your little smile. Time for the night portion of the date. Hannah is excited to get to know Jed more. I am very excited to talk about this night portion.
You and me both.
This is like a first, I think.
First ever.
I've never seen this on the show. Jed says that he is going to be very upfront with Hannah, and then he starts talking about how much he loves music. And I was like, where is this going?
Me too, yeah.
And then he talks about how when he first signed up for the show, he did it because it was a huge platform and he wanted to get out there.
Just like, what? I've watched a lot of reality TV. Even outside of The Bachelor and The Bachelorette, this never happens.
Yeah.
Ever.
Because we all know that that's why people go on the show. And we can roll the tape back to the first recap we did where I was like, I don't really trust musicians who come on this show.
You said that exactly.
I said that same thing.
Yeah.
And then he's like, yeah, I came on because of the platform. But then he said that he's like, now that he's met her, he's falling for her. He's really enjoying the time that they're spending together. I believed him.
So I believed him too. And I don't know if it's just about his actions have shown that he's really into this girl.
Yeah.
I'm still like a little hesitant.
Really?
Because think about it. It's not been that long. So you came on here for that platform, and then all of a sudden within 2 weeks, now you're like, oh, I can see myself marrying this girl in another 4 or 5 weeks.
That's fair. And she kind of also says that.
Yes.
Because she says, how can you get from this is a good opportunity to marriage, which is a valid question. And he talks about all of the comfort that he's found in her and kind of gives her a very generic answer, but she seems to accept it.
She soaked that up so bad.
Yeah. But at the same time, though, she knows probably even more than us the reasons why people go on that show.
Yes.
And she also seemed very impressed that he said that.
I was too.
Yeah.
I was very impressed. All she asked was for honesty. And this dude came out and was as honest as anything else. And you can't ask for anything else. So I was impressed. Yeah. And I was like, bravo, Jed.
I thought it was a good move.
That's so great.
It is. She gives him the rose.
Yes.
And because she appreciates his honesty. It's time for the group date. 13 guys on the group date feels like a lot.
It is. Overkill.
You're like, that's because it is a lot.
13 guys on a group date with no name tags. I'm like, I still need some name tags.
Yeah, I don't know who half of you are. They go to a rugby pitch and they're learning how to play rugby. Which I feel like we see this date every season of The Bachelorette where they play football or some sort of sport like football. And then it's time for them to play the game. Luke gives a very extra pump up speech, and I already know he's doing the absolute most.
I'm not gonna lie, I thought the pump up speech was good.
Every time you defend Luke P, I'm like, I can't do this.
You won't hear it too much going forward, but I definitely thought it was a good pump up speech.
They go out onto the field and they are completely surrounded by fans. I've said this before. I would honestly love to attend one of these events.
Yes.
As a spectator.
Yes. 100%.
You and me, George, together at one of these events. Oh my gosh, it would be so embarrassing. I don't really know anything about rugby, so I was like, I don't even know if they're playing a good game.
I know a little bit about rugby. Also, I played football as well. It's very, very similar. John Paul Jones was my surprise of the whole day.
Yeah, he scored a goal.
I think it's I don't know what the term in rugby is, but for football purposes, he scored a touchdown.
Yeah, that was cool. Good for him.
And he looked like he was like really into it. Like the one person that I was like, okay, this is not for them, was John Paul Jones, and he surprised me.
We don't know anything about John Paul Jones. except that his name is John Paul Jones.
Like nothing
And
about
that his job is John Paul Jones. Kevin's shoulder starts to hurt him, and then he goes in the ambulance, which I kind of fell for it again. I know they do this every season where someone goes in an ambulance and they make it look like someone punched them out.
Yes.
But it's really just, I fell on my shoulder.
Which, well, is going to happen in rugby.
I fall for this every single time. So he's the dude on the ambulance. They made it look so dramatic in the promo, but it was completely undramatic. Yes. I'm not going to go back to this because there's enough to talk about during the night portion, but did you see Kevin's sling when he came back?
What hospital do they have in Rhode Island that they don't have a sling?
They used some sort of weird textile instead of like a normal sling, and they tied it to his body. It was weird.
It looked like something straight out of the 1800s.
But I thought this was funny after Kevin left because of his dislocated shoulder. This is something I wrote down in my notes. Hannah is the true motivation, so Luke would not have dislocated his shoulder.
Oh.
Did you hear when he said that?
Yes.
They may have like edited it to make it look like that's what he said, but he's like, Hannah's the true motivation, so wouldn't happen to me. And I'm like, that's not really how the human body works, but go off, Luke, I guess. Luke scores. He says he's never going to quit on Hannah. I just hate this.
It was at this moment that I wrote down, Luke is the ultimate try-hard.
He really is.
The ultimate try-hard.
The game's over. I have more notes about it, but none of it's interesting.
No.
Other than the fact that something happens between Luke S. and Luke P. that basically becomes the plot for the rest of the episode.
The absolute rest of the episode. Did you see it, though, when it happened?
I saw it because it's in the corner of a shot,
yes.
right?
Yeah, it's in the corner, and they're like focused on Hannah, who was watching the action. But then I peeped it off in a corner. I'll get to that later.
I wish they would have rolled the tape back.
Yeah, give me like a slow-mo. Something.
Because I kind of caught it out of the corner of my eye too, but I couldn't rewind it.
Right.
So they go to the night portion of the date. All the guys are mad about Luke, literally all of them. Hannah grabs Luke first for the second time in a row, and Luke brings up, I don't know who brought it up first. Hannah, he brought it up first, I think.
I think he brought Luke's name up first.
Yeah. So Luke P's side of the story is that Luke S came swinging at him and was going to punch him in the face after he like tackled him or got the ball from him or something.
So I watched it on Tuesday. So I watched it on Hulu. And so, of course, I was like, okay, at this point, I hit rewind. I was like, let's go back to that clip.
Right.
And I saw the clip. And from what I saw, from the little bit that I saw, it did look like Luke S was approaching Luke P. Now, I didn't think it was in a malice way,
right.
But I did look at his hands. His hands did have fists. But what Luke P did to Luke S did not it didn't warrant the action that I saw from Luke S.
So did it have what Luke P did to Luke S in the clip?
Yes, it literally had him pick him up and drive him into the ground.
Oh.
Now, throughout the whole episode, they were talking about like kneeing him in the face. They didn't show that.
Gotcha.
But you definitely see him pick him up and drive him to the ground. And then of course, me being me, I was like, oh, let's watch that again. So 6 times through, I got a nice little clear.
Yeah. It's hard for me to believe that they didn't have a camera on Luke P the whole time.
I don't see why they wouldn't. I mean, the camera's been on him all season.
Right. I wonder if they had the footage but didn't want to show it.
Saving it for the tell-all.
Or just to show, like, keep it gray. You know how they do that?
Oh, yeah.
Then Luke P says that Luke S has shown some red flags, like only talking about his tequila company and never talking about Hannah.
Isn't that something?
Which is the first time that I've heard about Luke S's tequila company. So.
First time I've heard about Luke S all season.
Hannah then pulls Luke S and gets his side of the story. He says that he got hit hard by Luke P. Went to tell him they didn't appreciate it, but Luke just picked him up, threw him on the ground, and kneed him in the head. Which seems to kind of align more with what you saw.
Yes, 100%. Besides the knee in the head, like I said, I didn't get to see, they didn't show that part, but what I saw was more towards what Luke S was saying.
Right. And then Hannah tells Luke S she just basically like does what Colton did last season and airs out all of the drama.
Bingo.
And then she says, hold on, did this happen? I'm kind of confused. She talks to Luke S twice.
Yes.
Okay. So then we'll come to this. Then it's just the supercut of all of the guys talking about Luke P.
Yes, because Luke S was like, just ask any of the other guys about their feelings towards Luke P. And then it's just a montage.
Yep, they all talk about Luke P. That's what they're all talking about. Garrett says something nice where he's like, hey, I have 13 friends here. You could have hurt one of my friends. While they're all ganging up on Luke P.
I was just like, come on. Come on.
Yo, and then Mike starts to call him out.
Oh, I was all for this. He's like, yo, if you're going to go after somebody, come after me.
Yeah, it was something. He came with the fire.
Yeah, he was heated.
And then there was at one point that this made me laugh where Luke was like, oh, this is how I remember it. And then the guys bring something else up. And then he's like, oh, now that you say that, actually what I remember. And Mike was like, ah!
It was so good.
And there was another point. I don't know when this had. Like, the two night portions are blurring together.
Because they're literally about the same
They're
thing.
about the same thing, and they happen in the same giant mansions.
Yeah.
Like, I have no idea what happens when. But there was another point where Mike was like, you were threatened by Luke S.
Like, Luke S. That was so good.
Yeah. Then they all kind of get up and walk away.
Yeah.
Luke P versus Luke S. They're all talking. Luke S is like, I never want to see you ever again in my entire life. And Luke P's like, I want to get to know you more on a deeper level. It was weird. And then as soon as Luke S said that, I was like, bro, you already know you're going to see him at the tell-all, and then they're going to bring both of you back for Paradise, so you're going to see him there too. Like, you might as well just get along with this dude, because you're going to see him for a while. Yep. Peter and Hannah talk. They have a nice time together. Garrett and Hannah talk. They have a nice time together too.
Lovely time.
That was really sweet. She does end up giving the rose to Garrett, which I predicted.
Great. Yeah. I did too. I was like, it was the only conversation she had that wasn't about Luke's.
Right. Now after this, we have that one-on-one with Tyler, which going into it, I was like, this is going to be boring. I kind of hate when they do that, when they have all the drama and then there's just a regular one-on-one. She's in a bad mood for that one-on-one
100%.
though. The cameras pan to her. It's the next day and she's like, I'm not doing well. Had a really hard night, hard morning. She even said, I don't really want to do this one-on-one.
Yeah, she said it clear cut. And then Tyler comes like strolling up. There's no music. There's nothing. There's no build up. He's
Sup,
just
girl. Did you catch that?
I saw.
Sup, girl. Which she always does. That was his line coming out of the limo. Was literally stoked you're the Bachelorette. Tyler's fine though. I make fun of him, but he's.
And it's one of those things. I went back to my week 1 notes. Whenever I try to figure out who some of these guys, I was like, what's my initial reaction? And then my initial reaction was like, Tyler C. looks high.
Yeah.
I was like, it just looks
I remember
high.
talking about that.
But then like week 2 and week 3, I was like, Tyler C's coming along. I like Tyler C.
Yeah, he's fine.
And then my notes here, this dude is the real deal. This dude just took over my number 1 spot. I'm not kidding.
Really?
Yeah, he took it from Jed in this episode.
All right. Let's discuss. So Hannah tells him that she had a really rough night and she's not really in a great mood. And he's like, you know what? We're still going to have a good time because people have bad days in relationships.
And he's like, I got you always.
And he did say that, which was kind of cute. So they go lobster fishing. They pull up a bunch of lobster traps. And they're just having a low key time. Which
looks like he had done it before. I don't know if he had. I think he's from Florida. I think it said he was from Florida. But it looked like he had done it before. He was just like, okay, let's do this. And it's just, I just loved this part of the whole date. It's just you saw Hannah going through it. And he's like, this is who I want to see.
He said at one point, it's on us to pick each other up, which was sweet. And Hannah talks about how calm she feels around him. It was really sweet. Yeah. At the night portion of the date, they go to America's oldest tavern. You're crushing your outfit tonight is something that Tyler C says there. Every time I quote Tyler C, I need to do like, you're crushing it.
Spot on too. That was good.
Yeah. Tyler says, you know what? It's okay that you weren't feeling your best today. We just need the real Hannah.
Right. And I love how he just outlined that he's like, I wanted this. This could not have been perfect. He's like, I want this Hannah. I want happy Hannah. It's like, this is exactly who I want. This is who I want to get to know.
It was very sweet. He then opens up and talks about how he almost didn't come on the show because his dad almost died right before it. He opened up about how hard that was for him.
Yeah.
And they kind of connected over vulnerability.
Oh, Tyler C. I have predictions afterward.
Okay. She gives him the rose, which was obvious because
Yeah.
she seems to really like him.
And she, you know what? And she said to him, I believe it was to him, that she was like, I was kind of worried about you.
Yeah, she thought he was a player.
Yeah. She's like, I thought you were a player. She's like, I just didn't know what to expect from you when I saw you. I was like, oh, this is good. They really had a
He
moment.
surprised me too, honestly.
You saw my week 1 notes. I was like, this dude just looks stoned.
Right. Then they get out of there and go to a music venue where Jake Owen is playing. I actually know who Jake Owen is.
Me too.
He's a pretty good pull for this show, I think.
A really good pull. I think, just in the seasons I've watched, Jake Owen might be number 1.
He also may have already been on this show before.
Really?
Was he might have also been at Red Rocks when Colton went there. Or was that someone else?
That might have been someone else.
I feel like Jake Owen has been on this show before.
It wouldn't surprise me.
I'll look into it.
He's right into like their wheelhouse, so it wouldn't surprise me.
Yep. It is time for the cocktail party. They go up to another giant mansion somewhere in Rhode Island. Mike says, I don't know why Mike said this. Mike's like, hopefully there's no drama tonight. I'm like, Mike, you know damn well there's going to be drama tonight.
You know exactly what's going to happen.
This is what I wrote in my notes. Hopefully there's no drama is something that Mike says. I know he will be incorrect.
By the way, just going back, so I wrote it at the end of Tyler's date. It also could have been construed with the last part of the date. Hannah's look on Tyler's date, phenomenal.
You're crushing your outfit tonight.
Yes.
Is what he said.
Yes. Phenomenal.
I don't really remember, but
I think it was more
great.
for me, the hair that she had going on, and just she looked phenomenal.
There you go. So Luke makes a speech. Let's all be truthful with everything that we say. That's great. This should all be about Hannah. It's not going to all be about Hannah. We've all watched this show before.
We know
We all know what's happening. Hannah says the same thing that every lead Oliver says. Just want everyone to be real with me. And they kind of kick off the cocktail party.
Was Pete the first one that took her?
Yes, Peter took her first. He believes that like being intentional and like direct is important. I wrote down that exact quote from him. And then Peter asks her to be his girlfriend.
I loved every single bit of this.
I didn't.
This was the second cutest part of the whole episode.
I don't really love Peter. I think that's why. If Jed would have said it, I probably would have been like, that was a great move. I don't really love Peter, so it's kind of like, I guess.
Peter is slowly sneaking up my list. Slowly.
I don't know why I feel so weird about him, but he is just not my favorite.
I'm not going to lie. It took me a little bit to grow on, but episode by episode, give me 2 weeks. I think Peter will be in my top 3. If he's still there.
So Luke P. and Mike then chat. Mike calls him out again and says, you're still doing all this stuff that bugs me. All the actions are still lingering. You're the cause of her not being her happiest right now.
And then he says, I'm not the cause. Luke S. is the cause.
Yep.
And I'm just like, here we go.
And so he then tells his third version of the rugby story, which I don't even know what it is because we've heard so many versions of this story.
Come on.
Then Mike calls him aggressive, violent, and a liar, and a psychopath, which Luke P. Googles on his phone and shows us the definition. He's like, I'm not that. It's a very weird moment.
Very, very weird.
Garrett tells Lucas, he's like, man, I didn't even know about your tequila business. And Luke's like, I know, right? It was just lots of drama.
Yeah, it's just a whole bunch of unnecessary he said, she said drama.
Luke S. and Hannah go to chat. This was interesting. He talks about how character is the most important thing for him, yada, yada, yada. And then she says that she's irritated by the both of them.
Yeah.
And he, in that moment, he's like, I'm going to go home from this.
100%.
Because he and I knew this too, that there are the most red flags for Luke P.
Yes.
But if she's treating them as equal, it means that she's already on Luke P's side.
Exactly. And I don't know what, it's definitely the connection that she has with Luke P.
Yeah.
But he knew it right away. He's like, I'm screwed.
Well, she said into a confessional, she said, Luke P is the one I feel the strongest about. Did you catch that?
Yes, 100%. I was like, Luke P is in the lead right now?
I was like, still?
I was like, you just had Tyler C and Jed on a one-on-one and Luke P is still in the lead?
Yeah. So Luke S is mad after talking to Hannah where she was like, I'm irritated with the both of you. And she goes to Luke P, or Luke S goes to Luke P. I wish they had different names.
All right, me too. This would be so much better.
And says, you know what you said to her is false. And he admits it. He's like, you're right.
In front of everybody.
And then Luke S says, you got to go tell her. And then, ooh, that snake. Luke P, that snake.
In capital letters, I was like, Luke P is the biggest snake I've ever seen in reality show history.
Because then he goes and says, yeah, he came and told me to put in a good word for him, which of course makes Luke S look terrible.
It was at this moment is when I paused the TV and I screamed.
Yep. And then I look down at the clock and it's 10:56 and I'm like, we're not getting a roast Saturday tonight.
Which is awful. So awful.
So that's kind of where it ends, on a cliffhanger. Everyone's still being dramatic.
Well, yeah. Well, he goes back out, and then that's when Luke S comes back in, and then doesn't Hannah tell him, was like, well, Luke P said that you pretty much went up to him wanting him to put in a good word.
Yes.
And then you see the eye roll of all eye rolls from Luke S, and he goes back out. He's like, so. And then, I love this moment. Luke S has got my MVP for this moment, where he looks at everybody. He's like, guys, he's like, I want you just to look at this dude. This dude is a big snake, and I can't believe I fell for it. He's like, and I'm going to go home for it. And I was just like, oh, he was just real.
He's
right
so
there.
mad.
He is livid. And I love everybody else. They're like, dude, we were right here. We saw everything.
Yeah.
You said it in front of all of us. And then Hannah takes the both of them out.
Right? And that's where it cuts, right?
Yep.
I kind of stopped taking notes after. Yeah. Next episode's going to be wild.
It is. It's going to start off really wild.
How long is Luke P going to be in this?
I think he survives all of this because do you remember the clip from where they show for the rest of the season? Isn't it Luke P that is standing up in somebody's face and like pointing at them? And
you are not going to mess this up for me.
So immediately I just keep thinking of that moment. I was like, this dude's going to survive this night.
I think he is too.
So I don't know who he was yelling at because nobody has a name tag.
I would have guessed Luke S. So maybe that happens next week.
So that's possible. They have a 2-on-1.
Right.
I'm all for a
They
2-on-1.
would give those two a 2-on-1.
The battle of the Luke's 2-on. I'm all for 2-on-1s.
I guess we'll see what happens.
Yes, but Tyler C is the MVP.
Jed. I'm a Jed girl.
Jed for Bachelor.
Oh.
Tyler C for Hannah.
I would love Jed for Bachelor.
Jed for Bachelor. Tyler C for Hannah.